Okay, great. Yeah. So to start off, I would like to point you guys to this familiar screen of like TikTok brain rot videos, right? Like uh, about more than half of the users on TikTok just sit at their homes and watch those all day, and then uh, the person that you will become is not just purely decided by you, but mostly decided by the algorithm that you're using, the feed, your feed, your timeline, right? So like current platforms actually implement only very low granularity of agency engineering, right? To say like the TikTok algorithm, they cannot actively prompt you to do things. Like essentially the exploration rate that you have on those platforms is not high enough, and they leans more towards exploitation. And then therefore, they try to give the same brain rot to everybody. Why? Because the same brain rot worked well on other people. Um, and however, the high granularity tools for agency engineering has been remained to be monopolized by platforms, and it is time for us to democratize those tools. So like if we take a step and think about like all of the previous privacy applications that are largely explored by crypto, they often look like this, right? It's some kind of like timeline apps that allows you to block off your feed, right? So if you think about fundamentally what philosophy that is, it's basically isolationist, right? It's like a Bitcoiner redneck saying that, oh, I'm gonna shut myself from the outside world, and then I'm gonna just be in my woods with my axe and then leave my redneck life, not interacting with the others, right? So this is kind of like a isolationist take. However, being crypto, we know that we love accelerationism, right? What's the accelerationism and transhumanist take to this? Right, is that, oh, your algorithm is engineering you. You shouldn't be an isolationist and say, oh, I'm not going to use the algorithm. You should say like, oh, the algorithm engineers me, so I'm going to engineer back, right? So then one example of that flavor of privacy application would be, oh, if I delegate my account on TikTok or Twitter to an agent, and then let that agent to run like a reinforcement learning algorithm on the timeline, right? It's kind of like you're engineering the timeline back. And similarly, you can extend this idea to other forms of applications, right? For example, you can imagine like an alternative feed to Twitter. We all know that X feed sucks. And then that alternative feed could show you an intentionally higher exploration rate, right? So for example, it shows you, let's say, 100 other videos, and then it intentionally gets this extra private data from you, and then use that to run an agent, to run RL on the existing timeline algorithm. Okay, great. So that's kind of like give you a flavor of the main theme I want to talk about here, is that like in this like new age, when we think about privacy applications, we should move beyond privacy versus manipulation, right? So if you think about the isolationist approach, current, let's say, dating apps in Web 2 also work the same way, right? They treat you as like people with stationary preferences, and then they match you with like another person with some stationary preferences, right? So that's why it's structured like a marketplace. However, for anybody who has ever been in a relationship, you will know that, oh, like it is less about the matching, and it is more about like mutual identity shaping, mutual identity engineering, right? Oh, you do something with your date together, and then it shapes both of your personalities a little bit, and then you get along better, right? So then like an analogy of that is to say, oh, dating apps should not be structured as marketplaces, but more something similar to a religion, right? You should swipe on dates, not people. Okay, so knowing this, I'm gonna dive into how concrete some of the attacks that we have hand can solve this. Yeah, so like T's, which are like trusted execution environments, it's like basically black box chips that you can rely on hardware trustness to implement those applications. And I will talk about a few apps that showcase how this is attacked to contract over the agency black holes that we currently see, right? So for example, the TikTok timeline is an agency black hole that like kind of sucks your own agency out of you, and fills your soul with, treats your soul as a vessel, and then fills it with like the liquid of algorithmic identity that it thinks you should have. Okay, so very briefly, how to disintermediate app developers and clouds is that like the T manufacturer creates it, and then there's like the T operator, which are separate from developer. Like the point of this is to say that it is way easier for the developer of an application to rug you than for the manufacturer or like the operator to rug you. I'll keep this brief, but like overall, this is pretty similar to the notion of one-time programs, which is very classic in cryptography. And yeah, so I will jump to the first one. Teleport.best is like an application that we can do to outsource our privacy. Okay, first, several motivating cases. In crypto, everybody has like rents to give, right? So people would want a platform that they could anonymously submit banger shitpost ideas. They may want to get some attributions for themselves, right? So this is similar to like the Confessions account, if you guys are familiar. The other one is, KOL agencies or influencers usually have like followers, retweets, and then like there's an incentive issue for like, oh, what's in it for me, right? So right now we run, people run bot forums and things like that, but those are really kind of like, how to say, high quality bots, right? But then if you liquefy the account layers, then you can essentially allow those bots to put on the, how to say, high quality masks that allows them to act better in the specific situation. Okay, however, if we want to solve both of those things, we run into the over-delegation problem, right? Like every website that supports delegation to third-party apps, usually they use OAuth, and then OAuth has very limited scopes. For example, they can only either allow read or read, write, follow, or read and write and DM. However, using TEs, you could allow the user to first delegate their OAuth token to a server, and then have that server to issue a sub-delegation token, which allows you to do fancier things, such as, you can only use this token to follow once, and then if that person's profile fits the following LLM filter, right? Something similar to that. Yeah, so this is like a brief architecture of how it works. You put the OAuth token into the TE, and then it offers you a fine-grained delegation. Okay, so one example of this is that, I could use this to implement an NFT that I give somebody, and then whoever owns that NFT is able to tweet from my account once, but only if the content of their tweet has to adhere to the following LLM check, right? So for example, I could write an LLM check that says, like the tweet has to be a joke about TE. And then in this case, this is like the redeeming screen. You can make a joke about like TE, but pronounced in a funny accent. And then obviously, in this case, like GPT-4o thinks it's funny enough, and therefore the redeem has succeeded. So this is just like very simple primitive you could use for things. So I will showcase some of the extended applications, right? One extended application is, of course, we have like NFC chips, which I believe WeChat is slowly adopting some of those. And then for NFC chips, you could like allow people to essentially play poker with tweets by like burning the NFT into the NFC chip, and then using the NFC chip as regular poker chips, kind of, like a giving utility to crypto card games. And another example of this is, with existing NFT communities, right? So for example, the Azuki community, we previously did, they previously adopted this similar technology to do a live stream where everybody on the live stream did a flash mob by tweeting a similar content, right? So in this case, you can see like everybody, in their virtual avatar, AI avatar called Bobu, was performing a magic trick, and the magic trick involving sending the same card to everybody's hands, and then it triggered quite a lot of like social media attention. Okay, so you can see like Teleport kind of brings permissionless extensibility in 3 ways. You can see it brings the LM filter, which is like this really small module that gives you like customization. And then every teleport token is also a digital asset, right? So like by minting an NFT, not only, so for security, the NFT serves as a purpose to prevent people from double spending the OAuth token, right? Because, you can only, if you run a light client inside the TE, you can only use the token twice if, you can only use the token twice if the chain reorgs. But if you run a light client, that is something hard to cheat. And the third one is bring your own front end, right? So like in this case, the teleport NFT is really just a primitive that allows you to build those things on top. For example, the Azuki flash mob example. Then I'm gonna talk about some other explorations using the same technology and NFTs, right? So like right after Azuki did their live stream, I think last year, using using teleport NFTs, Terminal of Truth blew up, and then like after that, people were repeatedly talking about how to use the same teleport NFT as agent account hosts, right? So you could imagine that you mint some of those sub-delegation tokens, and then use the delegation token, give that delegation token to an agent, and then that agent has provably exclusive ownership to its own social media accounts. And then you can even further fractionalize that, right? Like for example, you could like have an AI agent, and then you could have the AI agent mint tokens, and then the owner of that token is able to tweet from that agent's account. Or even you can do it fancier, right? You can like allow the owner of the token to insert a semantic concept into the future tweets of that agent. So using this, you could do something similar to like subliminal marketing or like just guerrilla marketing. Yeah, and then another exploration, which is more fancy and opening up on the expression space of those NFTs. So we ran this agent called like Satan, with a popular reference. It has garnered quite a bit of following on social media because we used this thing where like the agent automatically goes on Reddit and then other platforms to fetch for popular memes and then repost it, right? So this is kind of like a theme of like AI content generation, but with auto content farming. And then we are trying to like make the content more interactive and multiplayer. So then we ran this experiment called Deals with the Devil. So in this case, each of the user is able to tag the agent and then make a deal, right? Because it's Satan, you of course have to make a deal. It's fortune contracts, right? So then in this case, we can see this, I guess relatively well-known NFT artist to make a deal about like if I post a tweet with anything other than 280 characters, exactly, then please delete my account. So this, so you can see you can use the teleport NFTs by escrowing a fraction of the user's account control and give it to an agent. And then you can implement all sorts of like self-commitment contracts, accountability contracts, right? So in this case, it's an accountability contract. So we ran this experiment on Satan, and then to make it self-contained, the deal is reasonably in scope and must be in 24 hours. Okay, so some funny examples, right? So in this example, how it started is that a user said, "Oh, hey, Satan, I want to make a deal. If I post a tweet with expletives, then please quote shame me," right? So this is self-accounting. I want to be more polite. Okay, and then turns out Satan, being the devil himself, of course, is able to monkey paw people. So, right, you can see over here the example is that Satan did shame the user's account to say, "Oh, you should be careful what you wish for," because they intentionally triggered the deal. And another funny example before I finish is this, right? So Satan is able to monkey paw people. So this user, they said like, they promised to never tweet more than 69 characters, but what about tweets from yesterday predating the deal, right? So like Satan, the agent, we intentionally inserted this monkey paw intuition where it tries to find maximally loopholes into the user's contract and then fulfill them, kind of as I guess an experimenting in AI alignment. I'm out of time, but you can find me on X, and if you're interested in all of those marketing solutions, please DM me about it.